All right, Shalom Israel, Shalom, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh by Hashem Mashakum Malak Yahweh. That is to say, Yahweh, being named the Heavenly Father, who the world will call God, and Yahweh Shai, being named His only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. This is Brother Kisadi from the Big Fire Jersey, Philly. And through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Shai, we want to make a quick update, through the Spirit. First off, as you see on the screen, if you're not already following Watchmen for Israel on Twitter, on X, definitely make sure you do so. But we wanted to show you the latest thing that Trump had dropped today, said early today, and how it ties in with prophecy, and with it's definitely about to come soon to America, right? So if you didn't know, a few months ago he had sent National Guard and some U.S. Marines over to L.A., right? And I'm gonna show you that, right? He sent National Guard and U.S. Marines, right, over to L.A. Let's pull it up. And this took place, right? It says U.S. military was deployed to L.A. It was so-called protest that was going on, but they were stationed there. He put troops on the ground, right? He if I'm not mistaken, right, he deployed, it says about 700 U.S. Marines was activated to L.A., and they supposedly left the region, right? That was back in June. So I forget what act he used. I don't know if it was the Insurrection Act. I believe it was actually, let me look this up real quick. Right, I want to pull this up real quick because I want to see what U.S. Constitution he used. What act did he use to send those troops over to L.A., right, really quickly. Right, so it says the 1807 Insurrection Act allows states to request federal assistance and allows the president in limited circumstances to deploy military personnel in the U.S. without a state's consent. It says Trump did not invoke the Insurrection Act. So he didn't do the Insurrection Act to deploy them, but he did send those troops over there, right? So, and I'm bringing this out to say that, as I was going to show you, he has plans on doing the same thing he just did to L.A. over to D.C., Chicago, and New York, and so-called other cities, right? So let's pull this up real quick, then we're going to dive into it.
And we're going to have the same thing here. But then I'm going to look at New York in a little while. Let's do this. Let's do this together. Let's see. It's going to go pretty quickly. And if we need to, we're going to do the same thing in Chicago, which is a disaster. We have a mayor there who's totally incompetent. He's an incompetent man. And we have an incompetent governor there. Pritzker's an incompetent. His family.
So he said we're going to do the same thing to Chicago, right?
We threw him out of the business, and he ran for governor. And now I understand he wants to be president. But I noticed he lost a little weight, so maybe he has a chance. You never know what happens. But Pritzker's a gross incompetent guy, thrown out of the family business. But when I look at Chicago and I look at L.A., if we didn't go to L.A. 3 months ago, L.A. would be burning like the part that didn't burn. If he would have allowed the water to come down, which I told him about in my first term. I said, you're going to have problems. Let it come down. We actually sent in our military to have the water come down into L.A. They still didn't want it to come down after the fires. But that was it. We have it coming down. But hopefully L.A. is watching. That mayor also. The city's burning. And
so,
we're gonna have
so the point is that he wants to send troops and take control. Well, he's taking control of D.C., right? Earlier he said he wanted to get the homeless, I believe he said this yesterday, you want to get the homeless off the streets. Doesn't want the homeless to be in the streets anymore. So they actually deployed or are deploying about 1,000 National Guard, right? About 1,000 National Guard over to LA, or it's like a DC. And again, he has hopes of doing the same thing to New York, Chicago, so on and so forth. Now, how does this apply to prophecy, right? For brothers that's in the spirit, you already know how this applies. You already understand that the Lord said in Second Ezra, right? And we'll get it. Let's go to Second Ezra, chapter 15. We know what the Lord said would take place in these last days. First off, I'm gonna get this precept. The Second Ezra chapter 15, I'm gonna start at verse 1. It says, "Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy." Right? And brothers love prophecy. Right? We love to go into the things that's going to take place soon in the earth. Right? Because we understand that in this world, you have nothing for you. It's nothing for you. We hope for the world to come, not the world that's already on the scene. Right? Because this place is about to be destroyed. Read on. It says, "Which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true." So we can hold these precepts, right? These books, book of Isaiah, Jeremiah, Psalm, so on and so forth, near and dear because they're true. The Lord said it's going to happen, so it will happen. So one of the things he said will happen is verse 16. It says, "For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power." So the Lord said there's going to be seditions that's taking place, which is what? Uproars. Right? Uproars of the people. Let's pull up the word sedition. So sedition, it says, conduct or language inciting rebellion against the authority of a state. Insurrection. Rebellion. So we have America has a Insurrection Act of 1807, which does what? It allows for martial law to be implemented into the country, for federal power to be seized and given over to the so-called commander-in-chief, which is the president. It says the rising of commotion in the state, not amounting to insurrection, conduct tending to treason, but without an overt act, excitement of discontent against the government, or of resistance to lawful authority. So any one of these could be applied to sedition, which is ultimately just an uproar, rebellion against the established order. So we're seeing that's taking place already. Hey, they when you read the book of Acts, the 17th chapter, they try to charge Paul with sedition. Even when you read Acts 24, let's get this real quick. Right, I believe in Acts 24 and verse 5. It says, "For we have found this man a pestilent fellow, and a mover of sedition among all the Jews throughout the world, and a ringleader of the sect of the Nazarenes." So this is one of the charges that they try to put against Paul. Right, ultimately try to charge him with treason. Right, to stir up men to go against the established government, which that's not necessarily what he was doing. Right, they charged Yahushua with treason. They said he made himself the king of the Jews. Right, so these things are claims that the nations, the world is going to put against us, the men that's doing the work of the Lord. Why? Because we do teach against the society, but not for brothers to take up arms and try to overthrow the society, but instead we want to wait on the Lord. Right, we have to wait on the Lord. There's no if or ands or maybes. We have to. It says, Zephaniah chapter 3 verse 8, "Therefore wait ye upon me, saith Yahweh, until that day that I rise up to the prey." So we're not doing this thing of our own. We're waiting on the Lord. Right? We're waiting on Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai until he rises up, until he takes vengeance for the nation of Israel. So back to 2 Ezra chapter 15 and verse 16. "For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another." What does that mean? Talking about men going into other men's houses, looting and rioting. That's going to take place. See, Trump already desensitized the public by sending U.S. Marines onto U.S. soil a few months ago. I think it started at, in April, May? Right, I believe it was April. Right around the time of the Passover, if I'm not mistaken. Right, and like we read earlier, they so-called left the region around June, late June. But the point is, he already was desensitizing the public by sending Marines and National Guard over to L.A. He sent some more National Guard to the border of Texas. Now he's deploying guards, and I believe he's militarizing the Metropolitan Police over in DC. And we just watched a video. He says he's going to do the same thing in Chicago, neighboring cities, well, major cities. Right? It's coming to a city near you. Not because Trump is saying it, but because the Lord said it. And he's just using these men to play out his script, for lack of a better term, right, on the earth. It says they shall not regard their kings nor princes, in the course of their actions shall stand in their power. Verse 17, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. What is that talking about? Right? Let's look this up. Let's type up the word martial law. When a man can't go into a city, that's because martial law is declared. You have troops blocking and shutting down men from being able to go into cities. Right? You're going to see men. These are weak men. Right? You're going to see these weak men. Can't even call them men. But you're going to see men like this going into these cities. Let's actually pull this up. Let's go to Google. So I don't know what these pictures is looking like. This, it's not really it. Let's go on Google. Right? Give me a second. Bear with me. Type up Google real quick. Right? Let's pull this thing up. Right? So when you see these tanks on the ground, man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. When you see these troops, so like this was in Detroit, right, back in the day. When you see these troops on the ground, man shall desire to go into a city and shall what? And shall not be able. Right? Man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. Again, this is what the Most High said. Right? This is what the Most High said. You saw that article right there. Let's kind of read this from Time Magazine. It says, quote unquote, this will go further. Trump puts DC police under his control and deploys National Guard. This need to be the thumbnail of the video. Right? Let's check this thing out. Well, let's see what he says right here.
I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back under the...
Whoever took the capital? Just coming up with false scenarios. Just a demon. Just say I'm a demon, and guess what? I want to declare martial law. Just say that. Don't come and say that you need to take the capital back. Who took DC over? You got these puppets behind him. Whatever he say, they down for it. Now, you really think he wants to do this? No, he's a puppet. Right? He's a puppet. One of them Amalekites, one of them Jewish men whispered in his ear. They pulled him into the Oval Office. They told him what to do, and he came out, declared a press conference, and now out of nowhere, he wants to deploy or militarize the police in D.C. and deploy National Guard. Out of nowhere.
Under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States, I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control, and you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved with that. Very good people, but they're tough, and they know what's happening. They've done it before. In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public safety in Washington, D.C., and they're going to be allowed to do their job properly. So today we're declaring public safety emergency in the District of Columbia, and Attorney General Pam Bondi, who's fantastic, is taking command of the Metropolitan.
You could check that out another time, right? But let's read this. So he says, Trump said he declared a public safety emergency and invoked Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act, which gives the President of the United States the authority to commandeer DC's police department in quote unquote conditions of an emergency nature. So Pam Bondi, Attorney General, is now in charge of the Metropolitan Police Department, right? It's time for dramatic action. This is what he's saying. Who told him it was time for this, though? Let's continue. He says, Trump also mentioned other major cities where he wants to put police under federal control, including New York City, Baltimore, and Oakland. And we another clip we showed you with Chicago and New York. Right? It says, in recent days, Trump has deployed federal officers from the U.S. Park Police, Immigration, and Customs Enforcement, the FBI, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, and the U.S. Marshals Service on night patrols in D.C. So he's kind of just getting these units together and they're deploying in D.C. And again, it's coming to a city near you. What national crisis has been taking place in D.C.? Are they prepping for something else? Is a false flag about to take place? This is what he also said this is what he said on Saturday. It says but Trump has long painted a different picture, with the president describing Washington as one of the most dangerous cities anywhere in the world. In a post on Truth Social Saturday, on Sunday, Trump wrote, "I'm going to make our capital safer and more beautiful than it ever was before. The homeless have to move out immediately, all capital. We will give you places to stay, but far from the capital." See that? So if you think that this is a joke, or I'm just itching for martial law, hey, guess what? Hey, the Lord said it's going to happen, right? The Most High God said this is going to happen, right? Right? Let's get a precept. Let's go back to 2 Ezra, chapter 15 and verse number 17. It says, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled. The houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. What is this great tribulation? Let's go to 2 Ezra chapter 16. Let's get right to it. 2 Ezra chapter 16 and verse 17 or 70. I'll start at 69. It says, and they that consent unto them shall be had in derision and reproach and trodden underfoot, right? So if you get down, and I'll actually start at 68. If you getting down with the ways, right, of Satan, and guess what? The Most High is going to give you over to that. He's going to give you over to that sin, give you over to that demon, right? And guess what? You're going to be trodden underfoot. And the Lord's going to use the nations, once they're deployed, to destroy you, whatever country you're in. This is going to be a worldwide thing. Not just in America, but worldwide. Remember, they got to prepare for World War III. Right? It's fundamental in a state of a national emergency, whether you're in America, China, North Korea, South Korea, whatever, you want to militarize your troops and get them on a ready's notice. So you're going to have troops implemented, right? And sent out into to speed up the process. So you'll have them in your cities. You'll turn your economy into a war economy. Let's look that up real quick so I can show you what I'm talking about. All right, look up a war economy. So it says a war economy or wartime economy is a set of preparations undertaken by a modern state to mobilize its economy for war production. Right? It says this is a system of producing, mobilizing, and allocating resources to sustain the violence. Many states increase the degree of planning in their economies during wars. That in many cases extends to rationing, in some cases to consumption for civil defense. So not only that, you're going to have your economy again, prepare for war. It took place various times for various different countries, but you're also going to have your military mobilized in the country, right? Let's look that up. Let's pull this up real quick, right? I don't want this. Let's get okay, that's good. Let's get research right there. Right, so mobilization, right? It says in war or national defense, organization of the armed forces of a nation for active military service in time of war or other national emergency. In its full scope, mobilization includes the organization of all resources of a nation for support of the military effort. So this is during times where you'll have them deployed into the streets, right? I.e. martial law, right? So back to it. 2nd Ezra 16 and 68. For behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you, and they shall take away certain of you. What is that talking about? Them taking away certain of you. Read about this in Revelation chapter 2, verse 10. Let's get that quick precept. Let's come back to this afterwards. Revelation chapter 2 and verse number 10. It reads, fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried. And ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. So the Lord is saying in 2nd Ezra chapter 16 and verse 68 that some of us, not all of us, but some of us will be grabbed up and sent to certain places like prison or so-called concentration camps or whatever the case may be, military camps, FEMA camps, whatever code word they want to use, but we'll be grabbed up and put into these places, right? Some of us will be on the run, but others will have to be, taken captive. It says, and feed you being idle with things offered unto idols. And they're going to try to feed us unto their gods, right? Feed us food, sacrifice to their gods, and get us to worship and bow down to Baal and Satan, right? And you're going to have to make a decision in that day. Do you want to continue on a few more moments, or you want to die to deaths in great honor and glory of Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua? Verse 69. It says, and they that consent unto them shall be had in derision, right? They're going to, what does it mean, derision? Right? If you don't know what the word derision is, let's look it up. Because the Lord said, whoever gets down like that, you're going to be had in derision. It says the act of ridiculing or laughing at someone or something, a state of being derided. Is that what you want? You want to be derided by another man? Right? Derided by these heathen? The act of deriding or the state of being derided, mockery, scornful, or contemptuous treatment which holds one up to ridicule. Right? They're going to be mocking you, spitting upon you, doing all types of evil. Hey, the Lord said, whoever get down and consent, and guess what? It's going to be even worse for you. Just die gloriously, like a man of the Most High, like a daughter of Zion, right? Like a child in the eyes of the Most High. Don't get down and consent with their wicked devices. It says, and in reproach and trodden underfoot, for there shall be in every place, right? It doesn't say Babylon, it doesn't say America, it doesn't say just in Rome, it doesn't say that. It says, for there shall be in every place, and in the next cities, a great insurrection upon those that fear Yahweh. They shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. For they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses. Then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as gold in the fire. Hear, O ye my beloved, say Yahweh, behold, the days of trouble are at hand, but I will deliver you from the same. I'll read it again. Hear, O ye my beloved, say Yahweh, behold, the days of trouble are at hand, but I will deliver you from the same. So you got to keep this in mind that the Most High said, don't be afraid, right? Keep these precepts. Retain this understanding. All hell is about to break loose. Martial law indeed is on the rise. What are you going to do in those days? The devil is making war with the saints. Now it's time to lock in. Most High Williams edified. Of course, we want to give all honor and all glory to Yahweh. By Hashem, Mashak, Malaki Washai. Again, it's Brother Kasadi from W. Jersey, Philly. Kwame Sharala. Keep watching these last days. Shalom.